Welcome everyone to another vlog. As half of my audience wants me to continue with the PS3, let's also do that and not only rant about Apple. If you want to watch this, you can also watch the earlier videos. So 2.19, what I have done today, or also yesterday, my spare time, you can call it extra code 20% project or something, is getting a 32-bit build. The good thing is it should also be interesting for non-PS2 people. There's our Ethernet. Because these are general Linux things, also applying to theoretically AMD 64, MIPS, Spark, Hewlett-Packard, HPPA and everything else. Maybe we just start X that things look nicer. So just bind mount all the stuff here, because this is a decade-old install, and here we have the new stuff. And we have here old UDEF, so in the meantime I also figured just these two links are enough. And again, this is not yet hardware accelerated. This is just frame buffer for testing before we continue. I also compiled my exact image here, so you can also set the background picture and waste some precious memory with it. Statics can be mapped to E, so maybe also fake here some other DPI. So things are probably fair to set size. What? Was hoping, okay, anyway, we can also zoom in then. Hope that is big enough. What I've done for this is actually, so in T2 we have a directory with architectures, and here we have PPC64, and the reason we want to default to 32-bit is to save the executable size with 64-bit pointers, and also as a result from this memory and cache. Not only memory is precious, also cache obviously. And what is nice about T2 is that everything is shell script, and in my opinion this is pretty readable to other things written in C, Python, Perl or whatever. And the reason we do not simply build PowerPC 32-bit, which obviously we also have here by the way there are also architectures which are many, and of course here's also PowerPC for 32-bit PowerPC, but we need 64-bit because we want to build a 64-bit kernel. Obviously I think the 32-bit kernel will probably not even work, at least on PS3, and in general it's nice to have a kernel which can do 64-bit anyway. And even if your system is 32-bit, you sometimes always want to have just this database application or just this demo or whatsoever run in 64-bit mode. So on this architectures also UltraSpark or MIPS64 or Octane and such, even if you default to 32-bit, it's always nice to have a 64-bit capable system around. And this took some back and forth. What I ended up with was pretty simple once I got it working, and I had already something to copy here from Spark, which has here something similar. As I mentioned earlier, my Sparks are super slow, so on those I always defaulted to 32-bit. So we have this here already. I could copy this a little bit, but not in full, and so I had to test around a little bit. This is still pretty simple. I added a new config option here in config in, which is also shell. So this is a new bool, default to 32-bit for user space applications, SDE config PowerPC64 -32, default 0. Then we need to wire it up that it does something. That is in parse config, which is run when all the configuration is evaluated. So here's this option, default to 32-bit, SDE config PowerPC64 -32. If yes, then I made here an exception if we are compiling for diet-libc. We could theoretically also change this, but this would be more work. I tried this first without, but it got too messy. Then I said, okay, then we compile diet-libc stuff, which is not so much as 64. And then if it's not diet-libc compiled package, then depending on some packages like glibc 32, Linux header, Linux module init tools or kmod, do nothing. Then if it's a normal glibc, so non-32-bit version, because we otherwise default to 32-bit, we then need inject -m64, which we normally would not if we would not have this defaulting to 32-bit compiler. Then for binutils and GCC, we also call this alter arch. This alter arch is our function here where we tweak some stuff to 32-bit, relatively simple. So we do this, but on top of this we change the target to PowerPC64, effectively kind of cross-compiler to 64-bit. And for any other package, we call this alter-arch function to change this to 32-bit PowerPC. And one of the other things is for glibc. After some fiddling around, and usually this kind of things take hours to evaluate, I found I can just compile it with CPU default 32. That is PowerPC specific. That doesn't work for other things. I think it doesn't work for Spark. For Spark, I have to still patch around from a decade ago. Probably in the meantime, I could evaluate if we really still need it. So package GCC, we have here a patch somewhere here. So default to 32-bit userland, mostly still for performance these days. And if we call svn log for this, it's probably quite vintage, going back to 2005. I looked on this yesterday and I'm not really sure if GCC has support for this in the meantime with some nice option. Here right now we still patch it, and I compiled it the other month and Spark 64 still worked. So we are now compiling this PowerPC64 T2 config. And did the Linux kernel fail maybe? Had it still running in the background, PowerPC64 32 var adm log Linux. Yeah, that failed with group, no such file or directory. Why is there not an etc group? Interesting. Okay, then it compiled fully, just not the init.rd. Then let's touch this log for the moment and let the build continue without it. So what we will do in the meantime already is rsync this here to this PS3, because then also people tell me, but we have screen actually, foreground. People tell me, are you using QEMU? The thing is, as much as I love QEMU for this, it's currently segfaulting here. I tried this already. QEMU, some CPU. This, I think, segmentation faulted sooner than later. We have other things to run right now. So I'm not yet sure if this binaries will work. So, and then we rsync this here with a forwarded SSH port, user source, T2 trunk, PowerPC, and so on, A to Z, because there's this toolchain, which we don't want. And oh, by the way, we want to exclude the logs. Does this work? Maybe. Here you see the build still running. There are a couple of, so just a few packages still. So we have 96 packages to go. We are cross-compiling this here. But I want to see as soon as possible if this result has even a chance to work. Not that we compile everything and all the binary segmentation fault, because with such non-straightforward, more tinkered with setups, it's always a chance that something miscompiles or whatsoever gets mixed up and messed up and such. And the reason we also do this is might be a little bit boring from the point of view that it's not graphic programming and such and soldering and poking in the hypervisor. But the reason is, if you at home want some release with accelerated video, which by the way in the beginning this will be accelerated Xorg, right? Not 3D graphic from the beginning, that will be more work. I'm already happy when all the Xorg stuff is accelerated, and video that we can at least watch videos with video acceleration for the Xvideo extension. So, and if we want to share anything for you to play along at home, and also that you have a more modern distribution than this decade old or so Red Ribbon stuff, then we need a release. And I do not want that everyone installs a not as optimal release, because as you hopefully know, memory is a little bit limited and we don't want to waste anything of this. Also, I used this already, so I compiled this exact image here for the, not only for the background, but also for testing. And I used this even, I did some accounting work the other day with a remote connection to a accounting software thing there. I did this here from the PS3, and I noticed, especially compiling exact image, that I got quite some out of memory killings there from the kernel, and even sometimes the kernel was so out of memory that it failed to send network packets. So there are still some things to improve, and if we can save some 20% or even more for the executable binaries, that's already something. And later we may be even able to save more, because right now the frame buffer maps a frame buffer in system memory, I think, and blitz from the system memory to the graphic memory, and I think we can probably save this 9 or so megabytes that it's allocating by default. That Would of course also be nice to get this 9 MB packs. The Linux kernel is doing this historically because we had no graphic acceleration. So the normal official Sony developer way was to blitz stuff in system memory and then DMA it to the actual video frame buffer. So let's see, we are already done. Nice, by the way, not too slow. Okay, but we are still compiling some Mesa and stuff. Let's see if we can run this without crashing. So that would be libld so. Oh, we're not crashing. And this should be 32-bit. Yeah, this is 32-bit. And lib64 is 64-bit. I'm aware that T2 is not as popular as Gentoo or Debian or something. One benefit is, of course, that we can really quickly, I've done this in my 20% extra code or post work hours. Just in a couple of hours I've changed this, and this is of course not something you can quickly do with Fedora, SUSE or Debian. And this is of course the intended target audience, embedded systems and such, what we have done a decade or so, and server systems and such. So then we can also, for a test, also run the libc. This also runs without crashing. And mind you, in QEMU this crashed for whatever reason. This also works. And yeah, change root to bash, ls, yeah, then I guess things are pretty fine, which is awesome. And as a size comparison, we have here bin bash 32-bit and in our system 64-bit. As you can see, it's quite a bit smaller. That is equals this bytes from this bytes, and this is some 15% smaller in the bash case. And maybe we can also compare something else like GNU-org. And what do we get there? There we get 13% smaller. And this picture should probably be similar for other apps, and some 15% improvement is obviously quite awesome for the limited memory. And in this system we obviously rarely need to address more than 4 GB. Of course, with memory map files, lib input, this is actually known right now. This build system is so complicated, not yet cross-compiling again, still need to hack this a little bit. Skip it for now. To finish my sentence from earlier, we are doing this work now, that if people want to play along at home, they install now a 32-bit system that is more optimized than everyone installs my 64-bit system that is wasting 15% of memory, and thousands of people having that installed, and then later they need to reinstall. So we may still find bugs in this esoteric configuration, something may later not work or so, but that would later only be fixing and updating a package or two, hopefully at most, not reinstalling everything. This is why I have done this administrative work first. And then another week we continue with hacking on the graphic stuff, and I still need also to make the installer smaller. The installer lives here in target share install for the classic installer. Pretty nicely sorted and not much code. So I still need to think. The way I wanted to restructure this was to have a more generically built smaller stage 2 of this installer, but that still was too large. And so I will probably stay with this strategy here that we are currently having, of having a package map of things we want in the installer, and we extract all of this and delete some documentation and such. And later we have here some custom code to just copy some binaries to get a really small alternative small stage 2. And I'm afraid, although this code is a little bit I'm afraid we probably have to stick with it, because we obviously need as small as possible small stage 2 for really small vintage systems. So I will probably just refine this, that it works better, just adding a little bit more stuff just to have just enough for things to install and work, and maybe also delete some not really needed stuff from the stage 2 there to make the stage 2 a little bit smaller, a little bit refined. And then I hope everyone at home can install it on their PS3. I hope you liked this episode enough to share, like and subscribe and learn something. And I hope to see you soon for the next vlogs to come.